Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Jennifer Eden.
Here.
Al Poole.
Here.
Mike Cunningham.
Here.
Soren Peterson.
Here.
Chuck Schultz.
Here.
Marcy Husted here, and David Walker's absent.
When it comes to the agenda, I would like to make one adjustment. We have something that kind of slipped through our cracks that we need to take care of tonight, and that's Mr. Edwards, Gary Edwards Land Division. So rather than that, add that on at 10, I'll just add that on as 1A. And since he's here public and it's not a big agenda item, we should be able to get that knocked out rather quickly. And I don't think we have anything else, so I'll call for a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Been motioned and supported to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is approval of the consent agenda, the regular board meeting minutes from January 16th, 2018, clerk's warrants and bills.
So moved.
Support.
Been motioned and supported to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Next, communications. There's 4 items. Number 1 is Livingston County Sheriff Report from December 2017. Number 2 is the Fire Run Report ending December 2017. Number 3 is the City of Fenton Fire Department Annual Report for 2017. And number 4 is the Township Revenue and Expenditure Report ending January 31st, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and supported to receive and place communications 1 through 4 on file. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Next is public remarks. There's some people here tonight, so if anybody would like to make a public remark, please stand, say your name and address for the record, please.
Gordon, 7335 Old US 23. I haven't been attending the meetings. I was kind of curious about the salary committee presentation, so I don't know if that was going to be voted on. Several years ago, I wasn't part of the committee, but I was involved in comparing what this township made. Has that kind of research been done?
Yeah, what we did is, it'd been a few years since we did have a salary committee, and we appointed another salary committee, and what they did is they met, they looked at statistics, and they're going to make a recommendation to the township board tonight, and we're going to discuss it, and there'll be a resolution at a future meeting to determine what that salary is.
All I remember from last time, Tyrone Township was way below like Heartland and Osceola. Only thing I want to say, I'm much happier with this planning commission and this board than in years past. So I would hate to see them not get paid enough and lose them. Okay, that's the only thing I want to say.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Mr. Edwards.
Gary Edwards, Coronado Drive. I worked with the township administration for 12 years, and I'd like to say that the current administration is more open, a lot easier to work with, and enjoyed the opportunity to work with people that are willing to work with the residents of the township and help things move forward. So I also support salary for the administrator.
Thank you.
If I could add one more thing.
Sure.
Well, on what he said, yeah, I also run the trailer business, not in trading. This planning commission and board, even though I haven't been before you within the last 2 years, they promote small business instead of fight against us. That's why I'm here tonight.
Go ahead.
Robert Busby, 6035 Mabley Hill. Same as these two gentlemen, and look, I'm here to show my support. What I have to say when you have your discussion with the salary committee. Been a resident of Tyrone Township for 12 years, resident of Livingston County most of my life. 12 years I've been out here, I've seen a lot of change within Tyrone, Heartland. I recall moved back to the county in late 90s, early 2000. Some of the infighting that went on within the townships and the bad press, not just Heartland, this area, and most in Livingston County. The past 8 years, I've seen nothing but positive press, whether it's in Livingston Daily, the WHMI. I've seen new businesses emerge in Tyrone. Some of the gentlemen are here today. I use the trading post, Woody's, the gas station. Some amazing new businesses, amazing additions to the businesses. And I don't think any of that's possible without, having good hires and low turnover within the township. This past summer, I had to go through and get a couple variances for a new garage that I was building. Went through planning and zoning. Everybody's super helpful, very fair through the process. It was hard times on me, but really felt good that the township supported that and it was fair. And Supervisor Cunningham, he's been here 8 years. Tenure, one of the lower paid township supervisors compared to some of the other similar townships, and getting that surplus, hiring the right staff, supporting new businesses, something to consider during the discussion about the salary.
Anyone else?
In regards to the raise, I have no problem with it, because what I feel the taxpayers in this township spent on the last group, I'm still paying for it.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate to have this group in here. I mean, I'm still paying on the sewer. We won't go into the others. So I'm very grateful that we have this.
Thank you. Don?
Pardon me for not standing, but the metal in the screws hurt when it's 10 degrees. Orchard Wood Drive and Fenton. I also support pay raises for township officials. Everybody else basically covered it. It's about time you guys come in line. It is appreciated that you didn't ask for a raise while we were going through while you guys were going through some rough financial times. So, but now's the time to do it.
Thank you. Do you have something else to say?
Me?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not a painkiller.
Did anybody else have anything? Okay, I had a couple of, go ahead, Mr. Puckett.
And I'm just here to support the township board and so forth as far as the raises go. I think it's way overdue.
Thank you. And then, if nobody else has comment, I had a couple of letters. This is from Michael Kantz, who lives at 6209 Mabley Hill Road. I'm unable to attend the meeting tonight. Please have the following read into public record. I'm Michael Kantz, who lives at 6209 Mabley Hill Road. Support the township board salaries increase. The employees work hard for us, and compared to other townships, this would be fair. Next one is Gary Delamalier. That's spelled DELAMIELLEURE. And he lives at, I think I wrote it down. It's on Carmer Road. Says, Mr. Cunningham, I write this memo with an understanding it will be read at tonight's Tyrone Township Board meeting. I was planning to attend meeting, but I have caught the flu bug like thousands of others in our area. It is my understanding that one of the topic to be on the agenda is increasing of current board salary. My wife and I lived in Green Oak Township for 20 years. We watched the township grow from rural community to a mature charter township. my opinion, one of the reasons they were successful was the stability and quality of the board members. To keep these qualified people in their positions, the community recognizes that they need to pay each position on the board member with a competitive salary. Having such a salary base allows for a higher qualified person to run for a position. Don't take me wrong, I am not saying that the current board is not comprised of qualified members. I'm saying for future elections, having a competent salary could generate a higher qualified candidate pool or enticement for current members to stand for another term. As a result, I'm in favor for paying each board position a salary that is commensurate with the township, that is equal in size as Tyrone Township. So did anybody else have any comments before I close public comment? Yes, Mr. Ferguson.
My name's Herman Ferguson. I live at 12197 Alcoy Drive. I was fortunate enough to be on that committee, and it's great to see everybody support them. You know, for the raises that it took for a long time, and the people that are on the board and the job they're doing. I've lived in this township for the first 20 years of my life, then moved to Linden and came back and spent the last 18 years here. And I'm just very fortunate to see what's happening in this township. I think it's one of the greatest townships in the state of Michigan. And I travel all over the world, and I can't wait to come home. So it's like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home. And if we can keep people that are making our home better and looking out for us, then I think that we need to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Thank you for your comments. Moving on to new business, 1A, Mr. Gary Edwards, Land Division. He's dividing a 10-acre parcel into a 6.4-acre parcel and a 4.1-acre parcel. Al, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, this came to us in pretty good shape. We had a few issues just to clean up, and he has met those conditions, and so I would make the recommendation that we approve the Gary Edwards Land Division request.
It's been, do I have a second on that?
I second.
Okay, so it's been motion and second to approve the Gary Edwards Land Division. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Next is item number 1, the salary committee presentation and discussion. We have Mike Byam, who was the chair of the salary committee, and Mr. Ferguson here tonight. So if you guys kind of want to give us a synopsis of, what you guys did and how you got to where you got.
Okay, my name's Michael Bynum. I'm at 8097 Linden Road. I have to stop and remember because you keep changing my address. I've been out here since 77. This is the second one of these that I've sat on. In fact, Herman and I sat on one 2 years ago. So we were kind of tail enders on that one, at least to see how it was done. This year, I chaired it, and Fleckenstein was the clerk. This gentleman's point, we use comparables. I got a whole package of them. For the most part, the comparables we used for this township was based on population, comparable board duties, doing a couple other things, whether there was, public parks. Township isn't running its own fire department like some do. Some places have supervisors, some don't. The comparables for this, the two main comparables were Osceola and Marion. And we looked at what the board members in those townships were getting, and ours were substantially underneath those. The recommendation was made. And Mike, I don't remember what the percentage was exactly. I don't think I have it written down in here, but
It is proposed at 23% for the township board and 23% for the trustees.
yes, it was right pretty much down the line, which brings you almost, but not even with one of them, but still under one of them. But at any rate, so the proposal is 23% increase in what they get.
So that's a little steal.
I don't know. I don't recall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gets them in the ballgame. Something else we looked at was, first off, was there money to do it? There is. Bill Wood mentioned the sewers. You know, at least they've got that, you know, knowing what some of the other townships and then some of the other people I know that had paying the sewer bills and stuff like that, they've got the sewer. There were 4 of us, with Cam Gonzalez basically being the tiebreaker, and the 4 of us that were on this, Perry Green, Bob Fleckenstein, Herman, and myself, the vote was unanimous, so there was no dissent on this raise, or this recommendation, put it that way. And I think that about covers it, unless somebody's got a question they'd like to ask.
You did say that some townships don't have supervisors. I think you meant some townships don't have managers, and some do.
Yes.
I just wanted to clear that up. I knew what you were saying,
Well, I
and
got into that because I didn't really,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's a couple, there's
Sure.
one here in this, it's got a full-time manager and
Sure.
some of that other stuff. Some of them have full-time supervisors that, you know, basically, but just reading through it, tried to stay, you know, realistic. And that was the basis for our comparables.
Any questions, anyone? I'm going to go ahead, I put together a spreadsheet. I just kind of want to put that up there so we could take a look at it and speak to it just a little bit. If you go to the very first page, go down the bottom of the tab there, it says township comparison. Can we enlarge that a little, maybe?
The top view.
Under view?
Under view?
Yeah, click up view. To the left.
Zoom. To
One
the
to the left, there you go.
Gotcha.
There you go.
There we go. So this is basically kind of a snapshot that they, and if you could expand G out just a smidge, there we go. This was a snapshot of one of the township studies. I believe this was compiled by Marion Township. Marcy had gotten this for us from their clerk. And basically what it does is it shows the townships within Tyrone Township. Column B is the days that they're open. Some are open 3 days, some are open 4 days, and some are open 5 days. You look at the population, you look at the supervisor salary. Those 2 there with the asterisks that are highlighted, that's Brighton Township and Hardin Township. Their supervisor makes $30,000 a year. Brighton Township supervisor does not keep office hours. He's not in the office. He shows up for the township board meeting and he makes $30,000 a year. Heartland's supervisor will meet you on meeting requests, and he at times is in the township, but for the most part, he does not keep office hours either. Then you go over, there's your clerk salaries, your treasurer salaries. Most all the townships listed there have some sort of sewer system. Some of them do have water. You can see that the Genoa Township has a manager at $112,000. Brighton Township has a manager at $105,000. Heartland has a manager at $90,000. Though we don't have water, we do have a sewer, and that's managed between the township board. If you go over to column H, that's the Department of Public Works manager. Genoa Township has a Department of Public Works manager at $106,000. Brighton has a manager for $41,000, and Heartland has a manager for $70,000. Some of the other duties that the manager does too is, attend to different meetings and such that the board members don't attend. Our treasurer, clerk, and supervisor attend all those meetings. We also manage our personnel and staff. We're in charge of hiring, training, counseling, terminating if that's the case. So we handle all the HR functions between the 3 of us. If you slide it over a little bit, you can see the total cost that each township is laying out to run their township. Go back to the right. Right there. The last column there. So that's total dollars. So if you take a look at what what we're currently running our township with the sewer system and that, we're at $104,000. There's only one township that's less than us. And then if you look at the current raise at 129, that would be our capital outlay. That still puts us, everybody that's larger than us is still making more money than us. It puts us right in line. It's nothing extravagant, ordinary, unfair, unjust. It's, where it is. So if we scroll down to the bottom of the page, to the left a little bit, please. A little bit more. There should be the salaries. Okay. This is the trustees' salaries and what they're getting per meeting. You look at the Hamburg, Genoa, they're getting anywhere from Hamburg gets 6,000 plus 1,119 a meeting. Genoa gets $5,000 to $9,000 a year. Brighton Township, they get $7,000 a year. Green Oak, they get $5,000. Heartland gets $5,800. Osceola gets $6,000 plus $95 a meeting. Then we are right now at roughly $4,000. With the increase, that would put us at $4,850. Once again, I don't see anything that makes that number jump off as unfair, unjust, or out of line. Then you go down to Putnam. They're at $3,200. Handy, which is very small comparison to us, is $4,974. And then Marion is $7,000 a year, and they're like size to us. So
They're actually smaller population, but they spend a lot more money than we do.
yes, and if I recall, they're only open 3 days a week, and we're open 4 days a week. So this is the data that they looked at. I spoke out of line. Let me know, but I think that's kind of the synopsis of.
And yeah, we had 2 or 3 different things that we charged from different places that came in, and they were all pretty much current. There was actually stuff that, we looked at stuff from Oakland County. There was stuff from different counties that, where you could say, all right, you take a, if you pick the population, but we tried to pick a township that was like this township. That wasn't running a fire department, or basically wasn't running a DPW department, or some of the things that people want. But if you want it, you gotta pay for it. And,
Right.
you vote on it and you decide how you're gonna, go from there, so. But like I say, Osceola and Marion were kind of the 2 that caught our eye, and as I recall, looking at this now, we're still not quite up to one, but closer. 2 more years when Herm's running this, you'll be right over the top.
All right, did the board want to talk about this at all? Do they think that the findings are fair, just? Is there any thoughts or comments?
Well, I think I think just on the statistics of it, it's in line. Now, going at the actual performance of the board, I would have to speak more for the clerk and the treasurer and the supervisor. They're obviously full-time, and everybody else in the office and stuff like that have outperformed over the last 8 years. I think outperformed and helped dig this township out of a hole that was ugly, ugly, ugly. And even previous members, Keith and Marna, along with Marcy and Jennifer, there was a lot of continuity with this board that we had brought in, and you guys are doing outstanding with it also. And the nice thing is that the value added to the township by the hard work and outside-the-box thinking of the full-time employees of the board, the full-time board employees. We're just here for the meetings and stuff like that, so I'm a little more humble on this stuff. But as far as the full-time operations of the township, going back farther than 10 years, it's leaps and bounds different. We're hearing from our businesses that are here and how much this board has made it easier for business and everything else like that. It's just, I think it's in line more so with those kind of performances viewed, rather than the statistics of how big everybody else is and where we fit on the whole matrix of where we fit in the whole grand scheme of things on size. So, and I think that has a bigger statement than just what the matrix says and where we're at and where we should be paid. So, I think you guys have done an outstanding job as the full-time people of the board, and I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Kind words.
I agree with everything Chuck said, and I would say, I hear about other townships and how they're running stuff, and sometimes we forget how good we have it here, but you guys do such a good job that everything runs smooth. It's run with common sense and no infighting, and there's a lot of good things you can say about the way this township's run. You keep it hidden.
Yeah, we keep that in mind locked doors, but there you go.
So yeah, I think we're fortunate to have a good board like you guys.
I just want to say one thing. I'm very happy to be here, and I've only been here a couple years, but I feel like I have a lot to offer, and I've taken on a lot of responsibilities. In the last year, I lost 2 of my key employees, and I did pick up a lot of additional duties. I've had a lot of special assessments that I've been working on. So I'm not opposed to a pay increase. What I am opposed to is the percentage all at once, and I would rather see it be split up over 2 or 3 years to get us up to where we think we should be. So I just wanted to just express my thoughts on that.
Soren, you have a comment?
Yeah, I think one particular case makes the whole thing worthwhile, and that was your acquisition of the property on Old 23 and the resale. That saved a bunch of money, and the innovation, being out of the box, if you will, was well worth it.
And that was what I was talking about the outside-the-box business deals of the township that normally isn't picked up on. Things like that, when we see these opportunities for the township reap the rewards to help offset other things that become a huge liability to us from the past, like the sewer system and that assessment. This board, even before me, the infrastructure has been put in place. It has been correct me if I'm wrong, but this township was headed for a disaster, a financial disaster. And just some of those business dealings, just like with recognizing how we can move things around to get those properties out of bad tax situations and everything else, has really put us forward and allowed us to do more for the township. Not only make the money to help pay some of the stuff off, but help us contribute to more road repairs and some of those other things. So there's no doubt in my mind that you guys aren't worth it. And Marcy, you talk about, and I'm talking mostly my appreciation for the 3 full-time positions of this board. As trustees, I think, are whatever, fine. But the 3 full-time positions of this board and what you guys have done and what the team has done previous to you being here, like, what was your salary, Mike, when you first started this job? When you first were elected? It was a lot.
$26,000 a year.
Right. So with that being said, and that was not even 10 years ago?
I'm in my 8th year.
Okay. Now, mind you, if this proposed raise goes into effect, and it seems steep for 23%, and I get it. As a business owner, I don't like to give anybody a 23% raise, right? I mean, if they deserve it, they deserve it, but it seems really steep, right? This township had to go in reverse and backpedal and catch it from collapse, catch itself from collapse. And with that, they've trimmed a lot of fat. They've, eliminated positions because we had to. Well, I say we, but I wasn't part of that. And were you part of that, Mike? Some of that downsizing structure and everything like that?
Absolutely.
And that stuff, we all hate to go downsize, and we look at things and nobody likes to have their job taken away or their pay go down or they lose benefits or anything like that. But sometimes it's what has to happen to save the head of the snake, right? So, in doing that, it's come back faster, harder, and stronger, and it's a healthier entity right now than it was before. So, I think, at least for the 3 full-time positions, that I think it is worth it, because maybe you guys want to do different things, and we have to attract that talent back. We have to get that talent back here. And if somebody's got that talent but can't afford to take that pay, we all lose, right?
That was my point.
And
Why lose and just have it coming?
And thank God we had people in here with talent and the wherewithal to be able to see these things and recognize these things and implement them. There's people out here that don't have the means to afford to run a multi-million-dollar company, right? This is a multi-million-dollar operation, yearly operation.
A lot of responsibility.
A lot of fiscal responsibility, not just making sure it doesn't go out of business. Look at the audits. I mean, it's pretty in-depth, so I think it's worth it for the people.
Well, when I started, it was $26,000 a year, and I did that for 6 years. Actually, 5 years, I'm sorry. And I knew that when I ran for election, that's what the salary was. But I also knew I had work to do. And I know that the board had a lot of work to do. And I think that the goals and expectations have not only been met, they've been exceeded. As Zoran alluded to, we made one land purchase. We made over $600,000 profit on that, which we put right back into the sewer because there was lost things that were special assessments and back charges and rates that really helped rebound that sewer system. And then we had a couple other properties that we sold that we did the same thing with. So that sewer system now is robust. I wouldn't say robust, but it's not hemorrhaging anymore. And that was huge. That was one of the major goals. The fact of the matter is in order to be an elected official, you have to reside in this township, and there's a cost for doing that. There's a cost for rent. There's a cost for utilities and taxes and special assessments and fees and that. And I operated at a negative there for a while. And, right now, we got a little bit of raise, and then I turned around and I got hit with 2 assessments. One of them is now I am a equity shareholder on 2 fronts with the regional sewer system. And that was a $22,000 bill to the township, or from the township to our house, as it was for other ones. And then I got hit with a special assessment for lake aeration to improve the water quality that leaves Lake Tyrone, in which I reside, that goes out into Shiawassee River, out into Saginaw Bay. So once again, we're at this impasse again where it's a negative operating deal. And I'm not asking to back up a Brinks truck here, but I feel that, in order to meet my requirements to live here, I mean, even if I moved out of my house and I moved into Cider Mill Crossing and moved into a mobile home community, that's going to be, just to live there, $950 a month. So, I mean, there has to be a little relief here. I think $43,000 a year is not asking much. I think it's fair. I would graciously and gratefully accept that and continue on. But, it's, if we were, if they were saying, $50,000, $60,000, then, I might have a tendency to agree with the clerk a little bit on that, but I think this is fair. So I guess my
speaking to the clerk, and I just reviewed the bylaws again, because we actually have rules. And by golly, I think we followed them, so. We only make a recommendation.
Right.
And I can't, I mean, there's nothing, and I know that, because just to make sure I didn't screw this up, you know, I checked a couple different times to make sure what we could and what we couldn't do, as far as that goes, but we don't have any wherewithal to stage it. All we do is make a recommendation. Now, you guys decide
We take it.
how you want to, and to Mr. Schultz, we kind of look at the trustees pretty much the same way as the rest of them. If you're gonna give them your time, we assume that you ran for the job because you had a vested interest in doing the job. And so we're thinking, you know, so we just, the percentage was right down the line. And I know we did that the last time, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever we did it again, it went that same way. So we kind of experienced that way, and that we did what we did. And we'd like to say, looking at it, from what everybody's saying so far, it looked like we did pretty good the last time, that we do better this time, and I'll do better.
Yes, sir.
Without overselling it, sitting on there 2 times, looking at the stuff that we did, bringing it up, looking at the job that you did, Mike, and the board, and I thought about this: what if we lost you? I lived through the time where they had all the stuff. I plan on staying here for a long time, for the rest of my life. This has been home most of my life, and I'm proud to live here. And I want people, and I've had a business for 33 years, and I'm not opposed to bringing my employees up 20. I even gave a guy a 50% raise in 1 year because he was worth it. He took over and could run it. I didn't have to be there. It freed up time for me where I didn't have to worry about it. So the thing of it is, I learned a long time in business when I was in my early 20s, pay for what you get, because you'll get what you pay for. And that's all I want to say is, I think you're worth it, and I think you should take it all at once, because I worked for GM. I was in the engineering in my early 20s, and you bust your butt, and you don't, and the number one thing is about 7 is money on the list. It's reward and stuff. But the thing of it is, after you bust your butt and you keep doing it, and they pass you by, after a while you get tired of it and you look to somewhere else. And the question I'd ask you, can we afford to lose them? That's it. Can we afford to lose them? Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I guess, do we have enough to carry this on for a resolution of support, or do we need to talk about it more? Do we think, yeah, Don?
I just want to say things. Just put it through. Don't wait. Put it through. And second thing, where does that leave your hourly people?
We've already went through in the last couple of years. We've had some employees that have had 4 increases, and I think we actually have a spreadsheet that shows the percentage of increases. It was on that, down at the bottom, employee percent, the tab. So those are employees, I just marked them. Some employees we have, I think the lowest there is an 18% increase, and the highest is 45% increase, and that's over the last 2 years and 5 months. You know, that's one thing we definitely had to look at, you know. We've got this ship going in the right direction. Our employees have been there. They've towed a lot of lines for us. They've had to sacrifice. 6 years ago, they were asked to do a lot more for a lot less, and we wanted to make sure. I did a salary comparison to the townships 2 years ago. We had a couple of people leave. We've added duties on. We went back and looked at them again, and you know, we'll continue to do that annually, because I think right now we have a, you know, I'm fortunate to say this, that when I walk in here, it's happy. I look forward to coming here. We've got really good employees. Marcy's got good employees. Jennifer's got good employees. You know, the ones that are working for me are are doing a great job, and, it's a good time and a good place, and we work hard and we help each other out, and, the main thing is that we're servicing our residents at a high level of customer service, and people say, and, I was told this, you're never going to hear this comment much when you're at Tyrone Township, and I have to disagree because I hear it all the time. You guys are doing a good job. So that comes from, staff and the people that selected them and work with them.
Which they do, but the same thing holds true. Give what you pay for.
Right.
If you do the increase tonight, the river doesn't rise, you can, the hourly people just as valuable. They back you up for the most part. And the same thing would hold true. If you don't pay everybody, okay, I'm saying everybody, higher rate, then you'll retain the people. Because all you gotta do is lose one key person, and then you gotta play catch up. Now,
We run lean.
with retention, your hourly people, board, trustees, everything, all comes into play.
We have 6 full-time employees, and that's them right there. We run this whole township on that. We have a couple consultants for other things, but for the most part, the people that are here putting in labor, we're doing it, so. So to answer your comment, we're not going to pass a resolution tonight. What we do is we have resolutions for it, but if we feel that we have enough support for it, we can continue stop talking and move on, or we can talk about it at the next board meeting or what, but
We'll move on.
so just real quick, you support it, Soren?
Yes.
And Chuck?
Yes.
Marcy?
Not 23%.
Okay. I support. Jennifer?
Support.
I do.
Okay. So then we'll just move on, and we have the makings for a resolution now. Thank you very much for showing up and making your comments. Thank you, Salary Committee, for your work and efforts, and we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is item number 2, is the approval of the video service local franchise agreement for AT&T Michigan. Everybody that supplies cable broadcast, they have to sign a franchise agreement with us. We have just renewed the one with Charter. This is basically the same agreement that we've had in place with AT&T. To renew their agreement allows them to provide cell service or UVerse or internet services in the township. Anything else you want to add to that? Okay, so I would just say that we go ahead and call for a motion on this. And,
So moved.
Support. It's been motioned and supported to approve the video service local franchise agreement for AT&T Michigan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Next. Item number 3 is the request for increase of hourly rate for legal services. Our attorney has been with the township for quite some time, and he's never asked for an increase. He's asking for a $10 an hour rate increase.
Seems pretty reasonable.
We have had attorney fees awarded to us, and one of our local judges asked what our rate was, and when this judge found out, they kind of admonished our attorney for being so cheap, and like he was, bringing down the market value. So, yeah, I don't see any issue with this whatsoever, and unless anybody wants to speak in opposition to giving the attorney a $10 an hour raise at the rate that they're providing, I'll take a motion.
We pay our bond attorney $2.50 an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, this will take him from 155 to
Right, so
165.
That's been very little. So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the $10 raise for the,
Raise $10.
from 155 to 165 for our legal counsel. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is some zoning ordinances. First one is the licensed designer seal and signature requirements. Planning Commission went over this. We met in a workshops to discuss this. I think everybody was in agreeance with it as it was presented, so unless anybody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion for that too.
The resolution.
So moved.
I'm sorry, it is a resolution because it is a zoning ordinance, so it would have to be resolved.
I will resolve to adopt it. The license and designer requirements.
It's been resolved and supported to approve the zoning ordinance for licensed designer seal and signature requirements. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Al Poole,
Yes.
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz,
Yes.
Marcy Husted, yes, and David Walker is absent.
Okay, moving on, business number 5, zoning ordinance amendment, condo development standards, condominium. Once again, this was discussed in workshop. Seemed to have, support for it as it was presented. Unless anybody has anything else that they would like to add, I'll entertain a motion for, a resolution for that.
No.
Support.
Been resolved and supported to approve zoning amendment for condominium developed standards. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham.
Yes.
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Al Poole,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz,
Yes.
Marcy Husted, yes, and David Walker's absent.
Next item is item number 6. This is the zoning ordinance amendment for cemetery ingress and egress developmental standards. There was one little discussion I recall, and it was regarding the fence
Right.
across the front of the cemetery. And I don't know if it was one or two people that were, but is anybody in objection to that standard?
Yeah, we
And-
talked about it again after that meeting in the planning commission, and we're pretty comfortable with what we recommended and would
It makes sense.
like to stay with that.
Yeah.
It
You know,
just adds a little protection to the property, and
I didn't have a problem with it.
so then if there's no objection to that, I'll entertain a resolution.
the result.
Support.
Been resolved and supported to approve zoning ordinance amendment cemetery ingress, egress, and developmental standards. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Soren Peterson,
Yes.
Chuck Schultz,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes.
Al Poole,
Yes.
Marcy Husted, yes, and David Walker's absent.
I have to get my little notes that you gave me this morning for this next one here. Did I? There, okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 7, paved and gravel road project discussion for 2018. I'd asked the Lewiston County Road Commission for some estimates. Now, we know that when we get an estimate from them, they're very conservative, and more often than not, they come in substantially under the proposed budget. So here's the quotes that they gave us. They're keeping their same contractor vendor. The first one was Denton Hill. It's a primary road. It qualifies for the pavement preservation. And we're looking for them to match this on this. And I guess, traditionally, we have not participated in this program for anything under a 50% match. And right now, they have that road, which is 6,200 feet of Denton Hill Road, which will actually complete it all the way, paving from Center all the way to Holtforth. But we have parts of Center done. I think this is where's the cutoff on that?
All they did from center was under the overpass.
Well, I'm talking on Denton Hill Road. So we've done
Right.
we've done two parts of it, and there's still one section of 6,000 feet from Holt Forth North. That's the best way to say it, from Holt Forth North, that has not been
Finishes out that
finished.
section.
So you get on, you're at M59 and Fenton Road, and you head north, and you get to Holt Forth, it switches into Denton Hill Road, and then it gets really rough. And then it gets really smooth all the way up to center. And for $300,000, this would be a match that we'd be looking for $150,000. I think that we started this project. I think that that's something that we should definitely let them know that we want to look for funds on. The other one that we got an estimate on is Center Road. It's $200,000. It's from Old US 23 west up to about Linden Road. So that's 4,940 feet. I've thought that this is definitely something that should be on our radar. The problem is it's not a primary road, so there's no matching funds. And it would be a $200,000 budget item, and all right, we're looking at about, what we got? $300,000, $370,000 in our road fund. I don't know that draining our road fund on something that we're not going to get match on right now is worth it, because we do have a promise that we need to keep, or it wasn't actually a promise, but it's something that we're going to look at. We're obviously going to add more money to our road fund with budget surpluses, as we do every year, but I don't know if this should be something that's on our radar.
Well, what is, it's the, what is it, the Pazer rating?
Pazer rating, the two worst Pazer rating roads in Tyrone Township are Denton Hill north of White Lake, which is on our radar,
Oh, yeah.
and Runyon Lake Road. And Runyon Lake Road is, once again, it's not a county primary road, and whatever we decide to do there, whether we decide to do sections of it, turn it back to gravel, I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do. And by me saying that, don't say that I'm insinuating that we're gonna turn it back to gravel, but we have to do a whole class analysis of that road. It's a long ways, it's a couple miles, and it's not just gonna be, a wedge, it's gonna be major reconstruction, because, there's just that much gravel.
It's rough.
Horrible.
Now,
Down it. Yeah, it's awful.
this, the repairs to Denton Hill Road, is it just, it's just they're just topping it, right?
So here's what it says: minor base repair in heavily patched areas.
So they're totally removing it.
They're going to remove it, yeah. They're going to place heavy hot mix and an asphalt wedge to improve the slope and drainage, followed by a hot mix asphalt overlay. So what they're going to come in is they'll take a machine, they'll take all that stuff up, fix that base area where it's really bad. So where there's the big potholes and the dipping and that, they'll come in and they'll add some base in there, they'll steamroll it, they'll compact it down, and then they'll put the first layer on, and then they'll put another layer on top of that.
As far as comparison of that work to, say, Center Road, they're milling off 3 inches and putting on top of 4. So they're really not going all the way down. If they, in that scope of work for Center Road. Center Road's pretty beat up.
Center
Pretty
Road
bad.
is beat up.
People are changing lanes just,
I actually did these drive-bys with Jennifer, so we drove them and took a look at them, so.
So what I'm saying is, as for the money, I'm looking at for the money, we might get some good matching funds for the Denton Hill, but as far as like the repair for $200,000 on Center Road, which needs it bad, if it's not taking it all the way to the base on some of those spots, is it worth that repairs, or are these things just gonna come back again? Or should we hold off and try to budget for Center Road?
That's a very valid point, and, I think Phil would probably be able to second this comment is, when you look at a road repair, you look at your bang for your buck. $200,000 could be a 10 or 12-year fix on that road. To get a 20-year fix on that road might be $1 million. So you could get, 5, 10-year, 10, 12-year fixes out of the deal for that and have a road that lasts 50 years rather than spend that much money, Does that make sense, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, so that's what you're looking at is your return on investment, how much you got to put into it to get that life expectancy out of it. And, Mike is right. The deeper you go, the more it costs. And if you're going to take something all the way down to base, that adds to the cost. You can generally tell the condition of the base by looking at the surface and driving it. You can tell if the base material is good or bad and adjust your cost from there. So a 4-inch mill and fill will give you 7 to 12 years pretty easily in terms of return on investment, especially if you seal the cracks when they come up and things like that. You keep it maintained. You'll get a good dozen years out of it, 10, 12 years out of it for that kind of fix that they're proposing right there.
So if we were to strip it all up, go in and do the base layer repairment and then lay it down.
Oh, you'd probably triple that price, just as a guess, maybe.
For how many
maybe
years?
Double. Well, at that point, you're looking at a brand new road. If you're going all the way down and redoing the base, you're doing a brand new road with all new ditching. That's a 20 to 25 year expectancy under normal conditions, which most county roads will outlast that. They'll go 30 plus in terms of
Mike, I'm concerned about the line of sight and maintaining that, in particular in the north Denton Hill. And if we're going to do anything, I think we have to do that line of sight.
When we looked at Denton Hill, we'll definitely get another quote for next year on that. When we looked at that, in order to fix that road, it was over $1 million. If I recall, it was,
Right now,
I was going to say it was close to $2 million, and they were $2.1 million because they wanted to shave the hills and all that. And that's just the township money. And they were only offering, I think, $20,000, $30,000 to match on that, leaving us, almost $2 million bill. So I mean, when we look at a road, we have to look at, how can we pave it, get, value out of it and afford to do it and continue the process. For a stretch of road there, that's a lot of money, and I don't know where it would come from. I don't know if there's grants for that or anything. It just,
There are safety grants out there and other things that you can apply for, but I mean they're going to be smaller than
we'd have
that,
to do a 4 or 5 mil road millage to start doing work like that.
And they're tough to get, and you got to have, sadly enough, in order to get safety type funding, you actually have to have some kind of accident history. I mean, you can look at it and say it's a safety hazard, but without any demonstrated accident history, none of these funding programs are going to look at you because they have people chomping at the bit that have actual, accident history trying to get funding for those.
Right. And then we have, on the next page, the gravel projects. I know that we had been working on Heartland Road. So I got a quote to finish Heartland Road from Fawcett all the way to Partial. That's $75,000. Then Mabley Hill has been washing out really bad. We fixed half of it this year, and the other half of that is $38,000. And then Partial Road, we put in as an estimate to, there was talk that Heartland Road might be interested in splitting that, and that would be $25,000 split.
Heartland Township?
Yeah, it's a border road, it's a mess. But I just don't know, we have enough money to look at that project this year.
The county looking at doing Partial Road or re-graveling it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Like in their radar to do?
No.
Outside of ours?
No, I spoke to Bob West, their Public Works Director, and he said, I'll run up the flagpole, but, there was talk for it, and then there was a census taken, and it kind of backed off, and then I said, well, I went ahead and got the estimate based on the conversation that we had, so, we can hold off on that. That one doesn't seem a major priority.
Another thing, Mike, is like on Center Road, west of Denton Hill, the trees and stuff encroaching into the roadway and everything. We need a lot of trimming there, last I saw it.
That's a county primary road too, and I hear you, roads like that, the backside of Foley Road that runs between Fenton Road and White Lake Road there, back behind Mr. Pites' property that runs there, that Foley Road cutoff, that's really bad too. There's several roads that we could look at, doing things like that for, but, I think that, my recommendation to the board would be, we go ahead and finish the Denton Hill Road, and with the hopes that they match us 50% on that, so that'd be a cost of $150,000, and I think that we spend the 75 and the 38, that puts us at, $100,000, so that would be, $250 for the gravel work on finishing off Heartland Road, or we could, split Heartland Road in half. If they're out there, they got the equipment out there, for $30,000, I think it makes best interest to just go ahead and finish it, and then we've basically fixed Heartland Road all the way up from just White Lake where it was horrible. We've got a decent road that goes all the way down. We've got it ditched. We've got it gravelled all the way down Heartland. And then we start looking at possibly Linden Road. That's another, boundary road that runs north and south, and that needs gravel too, especially
By the preserve?
Well, especially right over here by Lake Shannon, and then you said back behind the preserve. There's some work that was done there, but there's still more that needs to be done. And like I said, we don't have a road millage, and the state's not sending us any money, and we have to take what we get, and with our budget surpluses, we look at what we can improve, how we can improve it, and it's been successful, and we've had good feedback about it. So if anybody doesn't object, then I will go ahead and put us in for look for that 50% plus match with the county for Denton Hill, and then we'll budget for Heartland and maybe Hill gravel for this year. Okay.
Not the limited drainage estimate. They gave us two. They gave us two estimates for the gravel roads.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But they're a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Just one more quick question. Also, for Denton Hill, there's matching funds, but are we certain it's going to be 50%? And if it's going to be less or something? There's times we've done this in the past where we come back and they might have put in 20 or 25%, and we decided not to do it. I can't remember which road that was, but that was a few years back.
That was Denton Hill.
And, if they come back and go, well, we're only gonna throw at you 75,000, are we going to figure on moving forward still?
Well,
just to be.
I would bring that back to the board for approval. I'm just looking for budgeting purposes right now. Actually, I think the $120,000, $60,000 estimate for the gravel is what we need. So that's, the limited drainage. I don't want to put gravel on a road and not have drainage. So that would be,
That would be too much. So we're only going to be able to do one of those?
well, let's budget them. Doesn't mean that we have to do them. And we'll also take a look at what we have, at the end of the year.
So you're saying a total of 330,000 then?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't make sense to do the dirt roads without doing it right.
Drainage, right.
Well, you know what, I said
Still be in a pickle, right?
we could hold off on Heartland a year too, and just do Mabley Hill.
Yeah, if that one's already partially done, might as well finish it
Well-
out.
See, we don't know what our surplus is going to be, so we don't know how much we're
Then-
going to have to allocate.
Right.
So it's either 210,000 or 330.
Right.
Well, we can budget for Heartland and Mabley, and if we don't have it in our budget, then we don't do it.
Yeah, I would think that we would prioritize, let's go Mabley 1,
And if we don't
Heartland 2,
have enough to do them,
and
then
partial is 3 at, I don't see it happening this year.
no.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were budgeting now. Like I said, just because we're budgeting doesn't mean that we're necessarily doing them. I just have to get the budget finalized for the next meeting, and there were the salary hole for the board and then the roads, and I think that was about it, so
That was it.
Yep,
I
that
think
was
we've got it, I think we've got it where we need it, so, no motion, just discussion. Moving on to item number 8, road chloride bid from Chloride Solutions. I believe it's the same amount as last year,
Yes.
18.25, 9,000 gallons per load, 1% net 10 days of receipt, net 30. So,
We get a 1% discount if it's paid within 10 days.
yep, you get 1% discount paid within 10 days, and you've got 30 days to pay at 0 interest.
I have one question.
Yes.
Are we gonna have split up loads this year? Instead of 2 applications, we're gonna get 4?
Yes, that's how we have done it traditionally. We were, 4 or 5 years ago, we were putting down 4,000 gallons a
And
run.
it's a waste.
And it was running in the gutters and flooding and getting in the tires and getting people's car going down the road doing the jitterbug and cake and, so we did a little experiment. Let's do 2,000 gallons for the application and see what happens. And it puts a little layer on there, but it soaks right in, holds up pretty good. Now, this is not dust prevention, it's dust control. You're never going to prevent the dust. Some years we have drier years, and I mean, we have to go back and hit them a little bit, you know what I mean? Some years they're wetter, and, we get the benefit of that. But we have only, in the last 3 years, done 3 applications. We started to do part of a 4th one this year, but we haven't done 4 full applications. So we've always come in budget. This year, we do have the border roads, because every even year road, we do the border roads with Deerfield, Heartland, and Rose.
Well, I do know that it works much better, making sure it's split up. And I asked that, and I believe that it was in there, but I didn't see it worded in there.
Yeah,
But just for clarifications, it works 10 times better. I mean, it is amazingly different. Living on a dirt road, and usually when they apply it, I mean, it's a slick. I mean, it's a mud pit after they do it.
I've
The full
try
application.
to route myself around them when possible. Just a little history lesson for those that don't know or weren't here. We're taking bids from other agencies, and caught one of our previous suppliers, and we had a monster downpour. I mean, to where you can't see the end of the street, or actually, 200 feet in front of you. And there's a chloride truck dumping it, and it's going right into lakes. So I made a comment, why did you not just stop? Well, come to find out, they were pretty far away, and they drove that truck out here, they're gonna put the load down. So why don't you just drop the trailer in the township hall and come back the next day and do it? Well, they said, well, that won't happen again. Next chloride application, I make the turn onto my street, and guess what? The exact same thing's happening. So we switched to MBH, and MBH does stop. When it's pouring, they're not putting down chloride. And, they've delivered. They're not having to travel 50 miles to get here. They're in outskirts of Livingston County, so if they call for something at a time, so Wayne says these roads are going to be graded at this time, I want the truck here at this time, they're there. So, works out really well. We've had really good success with them until they, fumble the ball. I don't think that we should be in any position to entertain bids from everybody else because the last 4 years, the road complaints are decreased, and every once in a while people say we shortage it, and well, they just didn't know that we've changed it from 2 applications at 4,000 gallons to 4 applications at 2,000 gallons. And then once you explain to them, oh, okay, so.
Yeah. Makes sense to stay with them.
I
Okay.
move. I support. Is that a motion?
Yeah, I
Support it.
make a motion, we, these.
Been motioned and supported to approve the road chloride bid from Chloride Solutions. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. Next item on the agenda is the extension of the audit contract with Gabbridge. We thought we had one more year with them, and I got a phone call, says, our contract's up. And I said, oh, okay, we'll send it over. So we've had very good audits. They've been helpful. We're also using one of their competitors as a consultant for us, so it works out really well. And I'll tell you, our audit process, since I've been here, what used to take 2 weeks now takes 2.5 to 3 days. And our audit reviews are great. Everything's good, working good. They dive in. If you ever want to look at a company and their performance, take a look at their audit report. It really tells the story. That's one of our key performance metrics as a township board is how successful our audit is and their opinion that they render. And ours has been, the highest opinion that they have, and so everything's going good. Unless anybody has a desire to change, I would.
Nope, I support it.
I'll go ahead and make the recommendation, and Jennifer will support it. So, been motioned and supported to extend the contract with Gabbridge. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. We have no more new business. We have no miscellaneous business. Last call for public remarks. If anybody would like to say anything, Mr. Ferguson.
I've got a couple. First of all, when is the gravel pit going to be shut down officially on Denton Hill Road so they can finish that from White Lake Road? It's bad.
That's a very good question. We entered into a contract with them last year. We allowed them to mine, just to get started a little bit earlier. They have until December 1st of this year to be done with extracting. All mining is done. Gives them till, I believe, June 1st of next year. Is it June 1st? I believe it's June 1st.
I think so.
I don't have the contract, I haven't looked at it in a while. To be reclaimed, which means any material that they're going to bring in, which they probably won't bring in any material. Basically what they're doing is they're bringing it to roughly a 2-on-1 slope, which means that the canyon walls will be like this now, and then they're going to seed it so it doesn't wash out. Then it's reclaimed. Then it reverts to R2 zoning, so any future land use would have to be compliant with R2 zoning otherwise they'd have to rezone. So, we have a drop dead date, and it's a consent agreement, so if that date is not met, then we would be having a conversation with their attorney and our attorney as to why we're not taking them to court for an order to show cause.
So December 1st, they're supposed to stop?
The mining is done, so we're gonna have another year of them, running the sand. It's mostly sand is what they're taking out of there. You need concrete, right? Sand for concrete, so, hopefully we can get that wrapped up even sooner. I know that they've made some really good progress out there. I haven't talked to Mr. Smith yet. I'll get a better pulse from him probably midsummer as to where he's at. Hopefully they finish early, but I wouldn't count on it. December 1st is the day.
Then the next thing, when would they pave that from White Lake Road? Because that's just, it's.
We will We will get an estimate this time next year, and we'll budget. We'll see if we can budget for it, depending on what it comes back. I mean, I think that 2019, no promises. And I'm speaking for the board, but it has been on our radar. It has been discussed, and I would think that that would be a priority project for 2019.
With the way that it's tore up right now, is it the county responsible for patching that?
Yep. Just to clarify too, all the roads in the township that are not private are the responsibility of the road commission, and that's by statute. There's a public act that says that's Public Act 51. We have no responsibility for them. However, we're in a situation that our funding mechanisms and the way money flows around Lansing, it just doesn't seem to get to the township. And what does get to the county, after MDOT takes their cut, public transportation takes their cut, schools take their cut, everybody's got a cut of the road money, is not much. So we either play this game of matching funds and participation in order to get what we get, or we just let our roads crumble. So that's kind of how that whole thing works. So does that answer all your questions?
Yeah, the next question I have is, where are we at with the cemetery on Germany and Denton Hill Road?
It's still under planning commission review. I know that the DEQ is involved in this. I think there's permits that have to be pulled. Al, you're a little bit more, you might want to chime in on this?
I think getting these regulations in line was part of that too,
Right.
so we need to get that in place and a review to do, so.
There were some regulations in our cemetery ordinance for a private cemetery that need to be written, so those are being done. But like I said, I think there's still some permits and some things that need to be done before. I say they're ways out yet. I don't see it happening for months, if anything. So, yep, you're welcome. All right, any other public comments? Thank you, everyone. If not, I'll call for adjournment.
So move.
Been motion and second to adjourn our meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Got a gavel right there. I never have a gavel.
I wanted to do it.